Right, I know how we're going to start this. All right, ready? Boo! Boo! You get it.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 5 of Do You Know the Score, the football podcast that's now available on YouTube and on TikTok. So we're proper with it, with the new world in it. It's really good. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Gavin.
And we are going to talk to you this time in a European football frenzy. It starts next week. The Champions League start next week. Does the Europa League start next week as well?
I don't think so. I think we're like the week after or so.
Fair enough. So the week after for that. And also this week in football, it's been boring internationals. So, don't want to talk about that. So, even though Gareth Southgate, for some weird reason, is playing people for England who haven't played games yet.
At least it doesn't show on the field, right? At least those players that don't get game time look sharp and don't end up marking their own players.
They look unsharpened today in my hair. That's how sharp they looked. I to be honest with you, I did not watch the game. I'm not watching the Scotland game today. There'll be none of that. Bit of a behind the scenes there about what day we record this. But yeah, terrible thing. So I thought we'd do a little bit of looking forward to the Champions League, a little bit of looking forward to the Europa League, because that's where Liverpool play in Europe this year, and a little bit of looking forward to this weekend coming up, where our beloved Premier League comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk about the champions?
Yeah, let's start at the top. Let's start at the top and work our way down. Where the big boys play. Let's go there first.
WCW, nice. So yeah, it's an interesting Champions League. I looking at the group tables now. There's a lot of tasty draws in this. A lot of tasty draws.
There's lots of swings and roundabouts. Some groups that are probably going to be tougher than others.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through them one by one? Should we do that?
Yeah. Group A, Bayern Munich of Germany.
Yeah.
Manchester United of hell. Copenhagen, that's from Denmark, and Galatasaray from Turkey.
Yep.
Right, this in. See, I'm really good at pointless, so never know that. But that one, yeah, that was quite a tasty little league. Like, I think that was going to be a lot closer than it probably looks like on paper.
I'm not so sure. I think Bayern and Man United should get away with that one fairly comfortably. That's
a span in the works team though for this in this particular group.
I mean, where did they last year? I think is this the group? Yeah, Copenhagen were in your group last year in City's group and got rock bottom. Yeah, they so 3 draws, 3 losses. So they didn't get a win on the board last year. So when you come up against like Bayern and Man United, I think it's going to be a similar story for them. I
think it's Galatasaray that are going to make those top 3 positions in that particular group. I think they're going to be the ones that are going to be causing little issues. They play hard, they play physical. I just see them being a bit more of a problem than it just, like I said, than it seems on paper. Probably going to say Bayern and Man United go through, but I don't think it'll be an easy everyone's going through. If that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. I can see that. I mean, they're listed by rankings as currently with nothing zeros on the board. It's Bayern, Man United, Copenhagen, Galatasaray. I can see those bottom 2 switching once everyone's played. I can see it being Bayern first, United second, very close second, and then Copenhagen. No, sorry, then Galatasaray with Copenhagen last. That's how I'm seeing that one.
Same here. Group B, Sevilla, who won the Europa League. Yeah, I was in Italy for that. Well, they beat Roma. That was awkward. Arsenal, PSV, Eindhoven, and Lens.
Yeah.
Or Law, maybe.
Is it Law? I don't know. I can pretend and say Law. It sounds French
Lens.
to me. I don't.
Lens.
It's one of the languages I haven't learnt. I've learnt several others. I've got about 4 languages under my belt, but French is not one of them, I'm afraid.
Get on the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty easy for Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah.
Sevilla, yeah, they won the Europa League, but that was after coming third in your group last year. So they didn't get through. They only had one win in the Champions League last year. Granted, they had City, Dortmund in that group, but that also included Copenhagen. So that's probably
Yeah.
the only win they got there. So I can't see them putting up much of a fight in that group. Lens are relative newcomers to the Champions League as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty easy for Arsenal. I can
Yeah,
see
PSV,
Sevilla getting through.
I don't know about PSV. They've been kind of ransacked by everyone because, especially like United have taken a few PSV players. I think you guys have taken a PSV player or two.
Yeah,
So they carrying on that tradition of being a team that just basically produces future talent for everyone else.
yeah,
I, it makes it all right in their league because their league kind of works for that kind of revolving door of talent. But in the Champions League, I think Arsenal will get through quite easily. Sevilla
yeah.
second.
And how far does Sevilla go though? You know, because if they can't hang with Man City and Borussia Dortmund last year, unless they've improved a lot, they're not going to get through to very far if they get through the group stage either.
Don't see them going past first round.
No.
After the group stages, don't see it happening. To be honest, they'll have, because they're second, they'll pull a big boy, and then that'll be it. They'll be back into Europa League and probably winning it for a fourth time in a row. Something nonsense like that. Group C: Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga, and the Union Berlin.
Yeah,
Union Berlin, a new name.
Is it?
Yeah, like, I haven't seen them in the Champions League.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant the team had come up with a new name.
Oh no. They're just a new name in the group of teams that play this all the time.
Yes. Yeah. That's for me. That's another easy group for those top two. Which way round they go, I don't know. Real Madrid seem to be able to grind out victories. As a Liverpool fan, I know full well about playing against a Real Madrid team that isn't playing as well as you, but still managed to win several times in the Champions League recently. That's happened, and it's frustrating. We're not the only team for that to happen to either. Nope. Of course,
it's happened to us as well.
Yes, and other European teams as well. They just seem to, in the Champions League, find a way, which is bizarre. So I can see those two getting through comfortably. It's going to be wins against the other two teams the whole time. I can't see any of the other teams getting any points, not even a draw off those two. They're going to run away with that group. It's what I'm predicting.
Yep, can't disagree with you on that one. Group D, Benfica, Inter, Red Bull Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. Now that one, I couldn't pick a winner.
No, absolutely.
I look at that and I don't know enough about. I guess Inter, because they got to the Champions League final last year. Obviously, they probably have improved since they've lost Romelu Lukaku. It's probably that that improves most teams. But yeah, you know what? I don't really. I can honestly safely say that I don't think I know enough about any of these teams properly to say anything other than Inter, because I know that Inter got to the final against us last year.
Yeah, I'd go along with that as well. I mean, Benfica are doing okay so far in the domestic league. They've only played 4 games. Just looking them up now, 3 wins, 1 loss. So fourth, they're strong there. Salzburg, Real Sociedad. I think the same thing can be said about all of those teams. Like, they're doing okay in their domestic group. Who gets through? It's not an obvious. I think you're right. In to get through that group, who goes with them? It could honestly be any of those.
It genuinely could. It's quite an even. That's kind of a tasty little group, because I don't particularly like the groups where it's all like set in stone almost. When you just see the team sheets, they're the ones that what I mean. That's going to be a tasty group to get into. So if you're a fan of any of those clubs, at least you've got some like proper excitement coming into it.
Yep.
That should be good fun. Group E: Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and Celtic.
Yeah. I see
my Aussie coach's ex-team, my Aussie friend.
You still have Ange Postecoglou. Try it. Go on.
Ange.
Yep.
Postecoglou.
There you go.
There we go.
See?
We almost had a Joey from Friends where I went flippity flip. Nearly did. Nearly did. Nearly did. Nearly
Nearly.
did. But
Nearly.
that's his ex team, and the dominators of Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Lazio, Atletico Madrid, and Feyenoord. Can't see anyone other than Atletico Madrid and Lazio really going through in that one, to be honest.
I don't know about Lazio.
No.
No, they've qualified for this again. Cool. But last year, they were third in Group F of the Europa League. They did not get through the group stages of the Europa League last year.
Okay.
Again, going off, if you can do it at this level, then you do it at that level, right? Like we were talking about with a team earlier, getting through, but then how far is Sevilla, right? If they can get through, how far do they then go? Again, with Lazio, yeah, it's a glamorous name because of past players. It's just a historic name, but if you go off their European performance last year, there's nothing really there to show that they're going to challenge much for this this year, unless they've made loads of signings. I don't know. Celtic, same. They're a good team, but this is the Champions League. Feyenoord is another one. It's the Champions League. You see, this is another one of those groups like the last one we just did in D, where I can see Atletico Madrid getting through, but then who?
Yeah. The fun of the Champions League, that one.
Yeah.
This next group, though, is that exact thing, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
So Group F, PSG, Dortmund, Milan, Newcastle.
Yeah, crazy group. Crazy group.
I mean, that's a solid little group, that. PSG, renowned bottlers of the Champions League, let's be fair.
Yep.
Borussia Dortmund, mad respect to Borussia Dortmund, but again, just a team that kind of competes. Milan, similar thing at the minute. Newcastle, brand new to, well, I say brand new to it, but it's been a long while for them.
Been a while.
Team, but I'd say that this is probably on a 4. Everyone in my football group chat, everyone I've seen online and stuff, just talked about how Newcastle are going to get destroyed in this. I think it's a lot more even than people are giving it credit for.
A lot of draws in this one.
There's a lot of draws in this.
Yeah, it's an amazing stadium tour, though, isn't it? For any of these teams.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to go to 4 of the best football league stadiums in the entire world in one thing. But big occasion for Newcastle. They're going to have Mbappe and Neymar. They're going to have Götze. They're going to have big players come into St James's Park that they haven't had for quite a while, which is brilliant for them. How it affect them in the league? That's the question for me. I'm curious about that. With them not having that pressure last year, meant they could get 4th. They could just focus on that, really. Whereas now they've got to attempt to focus on this as well. Stretch it, as you know, from being in the Champions League a lot. It stretches your team. You've got to make changes. You can't just play everyone all the time. So it's an interesting one for me. But like I said, I genuinely think even with that PSG super team, I think that group is way more close than I think people give it credit for. And I honestly think you could it would not surprise me if the likes of PSG and Dortmund didn't end up going through. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I would not be surprised if I turn on the telly and that's the end result after the whole group stage.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, the conversation about the Champions League and even the Europa League is always about who gets through. This group, for me, has a different spice to it. Now we're talking about who's going to drop down to the Europa League, which, as a Liverpool fan, is terrifying from that group. And also, which of these mega teams is not even going to get Europa League when the group stages are done? Because whoever's 4th is a huge team, and they're not going to get any European football when this is over. So that's a scary conversation. Like I say, as a Liverpool fan, who drops out, but also it's a weird one to have that some megastar is guaranteed to not go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I got a feeling that this is going to be just super tough. A really super tough. And it's nice to see, because like when we go to the next group, you've got these kind of groups like this where it's kind of a done deal before a ball is kicked. Group G, Manchester City, Red Bull Leipzig, Crvena Zvezda.
or just Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah,
Bit
them too.
easier. Them as well, right? You have 5 teams in your group, do you?
Yeah, we need them. If you want to make it fair, oh, Crvena Zvezda and everybody's favorite joke in football, Young Boys.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I'm not going to sound big-headed when I say this. I think Manchester City are going to be okay.
Let's put it another way. How embarrassing would it be if you ended up in Europa League or out of European football in that group? I think that puts a different perspective on it. That's
It would
now
be.
not big-headed because you can. It sounds big-headed when you say we're going to win this group, but if
Yeah.
you don't get first or second in that group,
If we,
that's embarrassing.
I'll be honest with you, if you don't get first in that group, that's embarrassing.
It is.
Really,
for sure. Yeah.
really, if we're being legit. I mean, to be fair, if we did drop into the Europa League, I'd be all right with that because it's a trophy that we haven't won yet. So,
we have.
All right, all right. With your history, all right. We've won everything.
No lies.
Tell me sweet little lies. Yeah, Red Bull, Leipzig, Red Star, Belgrade. Sounds like a beer. And Young Boys. I don't see Red Star or Young Boys getting anything from this. It's Leipzig and Man City all the way.
I can see that as well. Yeah.
That one's a foregone conclusion to me.
Yeah, unless something embarrassing happens.
Yeah, which it's not gonna.
Mm-hmm.
And we start with Red Star on a week today. Or is it tomorrow? A week tomorrow, a week today, whatever our game is.
Nice.
Don't follow the Champions League properly. Boo. See till I die. Finally, the last one, Group H. We have Barcelona, Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Antwerp.
This is another one where I think it is deceptive. It looks like you're going to go, yeah, perfect. But I think this is going to be a lot closer. Barcelona have their issues, as we know, but they are also in their temporary stadium right now.
Yeah.
While they have the rebuild. So is that going to have an effect on away teams?
Yeah.
We'll see. I was going to say, it was something I was going to bring up with Newcastle. Those teams that are going to travel to St. James's Park won't have experienced that atmosphere before. Players in the Premier League say that when the crowd is screaming and shouting, it's so loud you can't hear the other players on the field. You can be screaming at your teammate who's just 10 feet away and they can't hear you because of the noise in the atmosphere in that stadium. So that might be intimidating to some of those players, or it could be different. You know, if you're trying to tactically work something out and you can't get the message across, that could be a factor for them. Something that isn't there for Barcelona with their temporary stadium, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I don't think Barcelona are cooking that well. Like, it's not the name Barcelona doesn't have the football behind it anymore. Really, like it's got Lewandowski, of course, and it's got Ousmane Dembele and Pedri and people like that in it. But at the same time, it just doesn't feel like a proper Barcelona squad. So for me, again, I think this one's a bit more, like you were saying, it's deceptive. I can see Porto and Shakhtar and Antwerp giving them trouble. I don't think they'll not go through. I still think that Barcelona will have enough about them to get through to the next stage. I just don't think it's like in previous a couple of previous groups. It's not a foregone conclusion this in the slightest. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be spicy. It's going to be one of the groups to definitely keep an eye on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right about Barcelona. I think I'm just looking at their start to the season, and working backwards. Their most recent game was a 2-1 win against Osasuna, and Osasuna had a man sent off. They played against Villarreal just before then, 4-3. They let in 3 goals. It was a win, but they let in 3 goals. Then the time before that, they played Cadiz. That was a 2-0 win. That looks pretty comfortable. And it looks like their opening game of the season was a 0-0 with Getafe, with both teams getting red cards. So that's not the best start to a season.
No. And it's not a very Barcelona like result list. You get what I mean? Like they're normally comfortably winning these games rather than by one or
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
because of circumstance.
apart from Villarreal, there's no major teams there. I mean, we know the name Getafe more than ever at the moment because of Greenwood,
Yeah.
inexplicably getting chosen by a team to actually play football with other human beings in front of other human beings. That just I still can't get over that. But there we go. Hey, and did you know? There's another one on that one that United is still paying most of his wages.
Yeah, and there's talk of him coming back at the end
Yeah.
after the loan as well, which I mean,
So much for attempting to fall over the right thing to do. They've even messed that up. Even
fail upwards.
even
Um,
pretending to care about these things, Man United have failed. So this,
just can't
by
get
the way,
anything right at the minute, can they?
I know, but I mean, I've got to put on record here as well, mind that I don't have anything against the United fans or the United team in general. This is the ownership and those particular players. So I don't want it to come across like I'm battering people that I like and people I respect. There's people I don't respect, and one of them is playing at Getafe, and some others are in charge of that person going to Getafe and paying him his wages. So
Yeah. But I no respect, maximum disrespect to Manchester United from this side of the microphone. All the disrespect, just as much disrespect as you could put. If you want a bowl of disrespect,
there it is.
here it is,
Yeah.
and enjoy it. And when you are full, I will offer you an after dinner disrespect mint.
So
Um,
anyway, let's go
for
back to
all
the
of you. Yeah.
Champions League
Sorry.
because
Yeah.
we are going to segue into the Europa League in a
we
minute. But
are. We
let's
are. We are.
speaking of segueing into the Europa League, which teams do you see from these Champions League groups are going to get into the Europa League and make some noise? I'm not talking about ones that have just dropped in and then going to disappear. Who do you think
So
might drop out and make noise in the Europa League?
remind me how that works again, because I
I
can't remember how many teams and what scenario it is that
it's
they go.
I'm fairly sure it's not every third place team. I think it's like half of the third place teams that have the most points. It's something like that. It's
Right.
definitely
Okay.
not more games to qualify. It's not like you drop into a qualification. It's based on your performance within the Champions League group.
Okay. So there's 8 groups. So there logically it's 4 teams.
It's something like that. Don't quote me on that. It's something like that. It could be
Okay. So just
six.
just for the sake of this conversation, we'll do 4, yeah? Because
Sure. Yeah.
we'll just kind of and if you don't think that's right, feel free to email do you know the score at gmail.com and tell me different.
There you go. Or drop in the
And
comments.
or drop it in the comments below.
Mm-hmm. That's
I nailed that. Right. So my top four. My four that I think are going to come down into the Europa League. Probably going to be PSV.
yeah.
I'm going to go with Real Sociedad.
Okay.
I don't think they'll. I think Inter and Benfica are probably winning that one. If I'm really honest. I'm going to go with Lazio.
Mm.
They'll probably come down. They seem like the type of team that goes down. And then I'm going to put a proper spanner in the works for you, and I'm going to say PSG.
Okay.
Because I honestly think that's with everything that's going on with Mbappe, with everything that's going on with Neymar leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. Di Maria is what, like 1 billion years older. I mean, does he even play for him anymore? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they've had they're winning all their games. Winning most of their games. Sorry, in the old League 1. But
Mm.
I mean, they're also drawing games as well. They haven't lost anything yet, but they don't look particularly good. But
So that's
yeah,
what you'd say. PSV. What else do you say? Real Sociedad,
Real Sociedad,
Lazio,
Lazio, and
Paris.
PSG. Yeah,
Okay.
I think PSG are just gonna have a complete mare this year.
Okay. So how in your mind then they've dropped down in Europa League? Do they make noise there, or do they
Yeah,
fizzle out there as well?
no, I think they make noise there though. That's the
Okay.
problem. Because I do, we'll get onto it when obviously we talk Europa League with you. But I've got some fairly strong feelings on who I think is going to and should win it.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably go along with what you're saying there. I can see PSV. I think they're one of the ones that might get into the latter stages of the Europa League as well. Either them or Sevilla. So I think Group B is going to send down someone that's going to make noise, whether it be PSV or Sevilla. I think both of those can do well. I think I said at the start of this season of the podcast, Sevilla are one of the ones I was looking at for getting through and doing well in the Europa League. Lazio, I don't know. I mean, if they do, I can't see them doing anything. Then I can see if they fizzle out of the Champions League, I think I can see them just dropping out of the Europa League as well. I don't see them doing much.
Right.
But yeah, Group F, like we said, they're gonna send someone huge. Let's run all the ideas up the flagpole. Paris, let's say, like you say, you think they can do well. Dortmund, if they go in, are they going to do well in Europa League? I'd say yes. I'd say they could get latter stages. Milan, of course. AC Milan, they definitely would. Newcastle, I think they're a strong team, even though they would have extra games. That's another one where I agreed with you that they could get far in the Champions League. So if that's the case, they're going to get far in the Europa League. It's a different kettle of fish. So they push. So that's the group that not only is strength within the Champions League, they're going to send someone dangerous to the Europa League.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall we move over to the Europa League?
Before we do, who is winning the Champions League? We're not doing the whole brackets and who gets through. Just pick a team, set everything on it. Bet all your money on that one team. If you get it wrong, we're gonna hold it. We'll hold it against you like forever. So.
Yeah, I see Man City beating Real Madrid in the final.
Ooh, you even went for who the opponent's going to be.
Just because it's how can you not against Real Madrid? The games in between the start of the Champions League and the final are just an aperitif. They're gonna get there. It's gonna happen.
An aperitif. Man City win the Champions League back to back, annoying the UEFA mafia. You know who they are. Ooh. But yeah, I think Man City are probably going to do it again. I don't see. I mean, apart from potentially something catastrophic happening injury wise, I don't see Man City not doing that personally this year.
It can be a Real Madrid thing, like we said, they've got this way about them.
Yeah,
even not playing well, they can still win. So they'd be the danger, and that's one of the reasons why I think that they'll be in the final with you as well. But yeah, Man City for sure.
Cool. I got Man City Dortmund because I like Dortmund. I think Dortmund go all the way in. Haaland versus his old club at Wembley.
Is it at Wembley?
It's at Wembley this year. Yeah.
Book the hotel.
I'm not going. Do I look like a rich man to you?
Right, Europa League. Do you want to go through it the same way? Group A and go down a wall?
Yeah. Go on, Richie Rich. Let's do it.
This one's going to be even trickier for me because we're talking about more teams that I'm even more unfamiliar with. So West Ham did well last season in the Europa League, so they've got to be
Conference League. That was
was it a Conference League, wasn't it?
That was the Conference League, but they still did really well.
Yeah, and they're a strong team. They're doing well in the Premier League at the moment, so I can see them taking that group. Is it the same for this? Is it top two and then a third drops down?
You know what? I'm not sure in the slightest.
We'll just go with winners. Winners maybe a second as well. So
yeah,
I don't. Based off name only, Olympiacos second, but that it's a bit like Lazio in that one. It's a name that's slightly familiar within football terms.
So not familiar with Baka Topola.
No, okay. I got to be honest on that one. You
I
agree with me on that? West Ham,
yeah. West Ham, I think, should realistically destroy that entire group.
It's another one of those,
in my opinion.
Like Man City, it would be disappointing if they don't.
Yeah, very, 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 very. Group B,
big one.
Ajax, Marseille, Brighton, and AEK Athens.
Yeah, that one's trickier.
Spicy.
Ajax, I would say. Brighton, I think, are going to do well.
Mm.
And then there's Marseille, of course. Well, that's another one where if they, with the dropping down, it's going to be a fairly heavy team dropping down into the conference from that group, if that is indeed how they work that. But I can see, I'd say Ajax and Brighton, either way around.
Yeah, I could see Brighton actually winning that as well. I think Brighton definitely have more than enough in their tank to be able to compete with that. Brilliant seeing names like Brighton in European football. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, deservedly so.
Really
they've had some really good seasons recently, and they're still looking really good.
And even with the change of players coming in and out, the change of management doesn't seem to have really. It hasn't. Well, it doesn't seem to. It just hasn't derailed them at all.
No.
And they're a welcome addition to European football. But yeah, Brighton for sure. Brighton for sure for me. Ajax or Marseille could be second in as far as I'm concerned. But yeah. Group C. Do you want to go for that one?
Yeah, Real Betis for me out of those.
Yeah.
Real Betis. Then either Rangers or Sparta Prague.
Not
probably
Aris
Rangers.
Limassol.
Limassol. It could be.
I've never heard of them.
Where
are they from?
There's a podcast currently going on in Romania, right, where two dudes are talking about it, going Brighton. I've never heard of Brighton. Brighoton. Where do they even play? Right, so, but we might have to put some respect on some teams here afterwards. But right now, it's just because we don't know, not that we're knowledgeable enough to say they're useless.
Also, Brexit means Brexit, so just yeah. But yeah, I can't disagree. Real Betis should pretty much walk that. Sparta Prague or Rangers could be second. Again, it's a difficult one. I don't know enough about Aris Limassol to really check. Now,
I think just quickly on that one, I think Rangers are doing well right now, but I don't know how Sparta Prague are doing at all. So that's one of the reasons why I'm saying it's difficult at this stage. Go on, Group D.
It really is. Group D. Yeah, I'm going to let you do that one just because of all the fun names 3 and 4. Like, first two I could do.
Storm and Racal. So yeah, that's another team I don't know anything about. So it'd be unfair to criticize them. For me, it's just a comment on the fact that Sporting Club de Portugal and Atalanta, they're the ones.
Nice. Was that to make up for me calling Ajax?
Love it.
Is that what you did? The Sporting Club de Portugal. Is that what you did? That to try and
I'm trying my best.
I'm not gonna help. Yeah, it's between Atalanta and Sporting, isn't it? Really,
you'd expect, but I mean, that's on paper. Football's played on grass. We'll see.
Hey. If he scores, if they score more than the other team, they win.
Yeah.
Game of two halves. Group E.
Yeah.
It's the boys.
Yeah. I mean, that's more embarrassing to not win that group than if Man City don't win their group for me.
Yeah. You definitely have more to lose than
that's a poor pun right there. I see what you did there.
Because they're in your group.
Yeah. But no, that one should be an easy one. We've got a very strong squad this season that should roll through those teams, and
not too far traveling either for any of them.
That's
which is
also
good for
true.
You. That's a brilliant little group. That's one thing to take into consideration with this Europa League is that every Thursday, every Wednesday, you're probably traveling at night to a place, and sometimes it could be like 5-6 hours away and have incredible time differences and stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that you're lucky is I don't think a time difference is more than 2 hours with those teams, Laskin, Union, and also, a couple hours flight probably as well, like max.
Yep.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that Liverpool should they should just dominate this unless they should win every single game unless they play youth after qualifying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It should be nothing more than a domination of that group, to be fair.
One of the things about this group that I've been looking at our fixtures further on in the season that concerns me, this could get changed fixtures get changed. However, we're looking at December the 14th for me. Union USG. Let's call them USG so I don't fall over the word and embarrass myself and annoy people. So it's USG. We're playing them Thursday the 14th. On that Saturday, the 16th, we're currently scheduled to play Man United. And then
early on late game.
It's currently at 3:00, so it's scheduling.
Right, so...
But I don't know whether the scheduling's been done for TV stuff yet.
Yeah,
But we're also playing Arsenal, our next game, a week later. So that's a tough one. If we have a tough time traveling from USG, and that's which match week? It's our last match week as well. So unless we've won the group by a mile, and we can relax in that one, that's an away game as well. That's a concern for me. We're traveling away on our last group game and then coming back for United that weekend at Anfield. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, for sure. But you got to win it. You got to play them. You play them anyway, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I think that you've got enough quality now with a lot of the purchases that you've done and the depth that you've got a bigger depth. Don't get me wrong. It's not the strongest depth in the world, but you've got more depth now to be able to compete on this. And if, I think Klopp's going to want to win this.
Yeah.
I do honestly think so. Group F, Villarreal, Rennes, Maccabi Haifa, and Panathinaikos.
Yeah, it's Rennes, by the way. I don't think it's
Rennes.
Rennes. It doesn't matter. We're butchering so many names.
I gotta be honest.
I can't remember which ones we got right or wrong by this point.
I've got to be honest with you. I don't think many French league fans are going to be listening to this.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we're butchering names here, so let's.
Okay, we've got 2 more groups to do. I will work my best to try and get these.
I'm doing just as bad as you. Don't worry about it.
Down.
Maccabi Haifa
again,
they can mix it up. I think Panathinaikos. That one's not an easy group for the second place. I think Villarreal have got to win that one, surely.
Yeah, comfortable first place for Villarreal, but like say Rennes and everyone else, Maccabi and Panathinaikos, they definitely seem like similar qualities of team. Judging on their form that I'm looking at right now and just how they're performing in general, I think that it would be Villarreal for sure, and then one of those other 3 definitely getting second place. But I mean, it's an interesting group for sure. It doesn't seem as clean cut as many of the others. They don't seem to, looking down on this though, they don't seem to have like a group of death, if that makes sense.
No, it's very even from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's like there's no like outright. This is going to be one team are just going to get slaughtered kind of thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, Group G: Roma, Slavia Praha, Sheriff, Servette.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard of Servette.
No, me neither. That's a brand new
or
one.
Servette. Maybe. Let's have a quick butcher's on who these people are.
Swiss.
They're Swiss. They were in with the young boys. They're 8th at the minute. Played 6, lost 2, drawn 3, won 1 in the Swiss league. 8th currently. So I'm going to kind of safely assume then that Roma are going to probably be better than them.
Yes, you can safely say that. I think. Yeah,
hot takes on this show.
Roma, I think they're going to do well, not just in this group, but within the Europa League as well. So yeah, they take that group. They've got to, surely. Come on, Servette. They're going to
dare try and pick second?
No.
Group H, final group. Leverkusen, Qarabag, Molde, and Haken.
Normally, with the Germanic languages, if there's an A with 2 dots over it, it would be an E, but it is Swedish. So it could be Haken.
So you learn stuff on this show as well.
So yeah,
you learn things.
With that being Swedish, that might be Haken, but I don't know enough about the Swedish language. So they in that group, that one's for traveling purposes as well. That one's pretty good with Molde, being from Norway, of course. So there's not that far for them to travel to each other's games. They're very close
Karabakh,
together.
though. Do you know where that is?
No,
Azerbaijan.
that makes up for it right there.
That's
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 some
going to
air
be
miles there.
yeah, that's a tricky one. Again, Leverkusen, I think, are just going to walk it.
Should do.
I'm going to go for Molde since we used to live in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Molde because yeah, yeah,
They they
and
have had some really good players in the past.
they have one or two. A couple of them have swung by at some point.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure one of them plays up front for you, don't they?
He might do.
I'm fairly
They're
sure. I'm just
currently God, Molde are currently
gonna.
fourth in the Elite Serien.
Okay.
No longer the
Uh,
Tippeligaen.
so yeah, 2017 to 2019, Haaland played for Molde.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure
Didn't
at that time
Solskjaer?
that Solskjaer was the manager and he contacted United and said, guys, we've got this player. You should sign him. And United went,
Yeah.
we're good, thanks.
Yeah.
Now, whether
Oh
he'd have
well.
gone or whether he'd have progressed as much as he has done since, who knows? Because he went to other teams after then. Uh, who knows?
But didn't a lot of the Norwegian players that Man United get come from Molde as well? So I'm pretty sure like Solskjaer and
Ronnie Onson, yeah.
Ronnie Johnson might have come from there as well. I don't know if
I,
like I don't know. There was like that big insurgence, wasn't there, in the 90s where all these Norwegians just
yeah, I mean,
suddenly became
once you get a link, then it's easy for certain players to get pushed forward over other players. So maybe there's something in that. Maybe it's that Mulder were and are very good at producing youth and talent. So who knows?
well,
But having
I
said
mean,
that, I think Leverkusen get through, and then it's roll of the dice for any of the others.
yeah. All right. Then let's ask the $1 million question. Then who's winning the Europa League?
I'm going to do it the same way as I did the Champions League for myself. I think the final will be. I think it's going to be Liverpool versus whoever drops out of Group F
Okay.
in the final.
So Liverpool PSG then.
Whoever drops out, any of those teams
Right.
that drop out is going to get to the end stages of the Europa League.
Fair enough. I also agree with you. I think Liverpool are winning it, and I think that them, West Ham, Brighton, and was it just those three from the Premier League?
Yeah.
Yeah, those three have a duty to represent the Premier League in this competition because I don't think there's a reason why teams that are in the top 10 of the Premier League shouldn't be almost at the finals of this unless you're not taking it seriously, unless you're
Yeah.
not trying.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be an absolute blowout by Liverpool and, say, Paris or Dortmund and Milan, whoever it is. I also think there's going to be other teams that are going to be really strong that could cause hurdles towards the end. Roma is one of those teams. Villarreal is another one I can see. Possibly West Ham.
Sure.
And then whoever drops out of Group B. So that's either Sevilla or PSV. So I think the quarterfinals and semifinals could be a lot stronger than these group stages suggest. Because I think the group stages are really straightforward. But I think towards the end, it's going to be different then.
As a Liverpool fan, then, are you okay with being in the Europa League? Is this it's kind of looked down upon as a tournament, but in many respects, I think it's a tournament that's as tough as the Champions League, the UEFA Champions League. Sorry.
Yeah.
In many ways.
I see where you're coming from. I don't know whether the way I look at it, we are in the competitions that we're in this year, and that's it. We can't do anything else about that.
No.
So I want to win everything, and I'm happy about where we're at within that. The disappointment about being in the Europa League is connected to last season, and that's gone now.
Sure.
We've made signings, we've progressed, we've moved on. We're a different team now than we were then. So I'm not dwelling on the past. Let's put it that way. I made a
That's a
joke at
very
the beginning.
pragmatic approach.
Oh, thank you.
Very
I made
grown
it.
up. A very grown up approach. Are you a football fan?
I am. I am.
You know.
I made a joke at the beginning about where the big boys play. That was levied towards me by a United fan back in the late 90s, I think it was. When we won the Europa League, we did well that year or whatever it was called then. We won it.
Yeah.
Players like Gary McAllister were playing with us still. That's how long ago it was. And he was talking about Europe football or something, and I said something about what we were doing, and he kind of dismissed it as, "Oh no, we're talking about Tuesday night football, where the big boys play." I took it on the chin. You can only compete in the competitions you're in. We needed to have done better in the league to have been in the Champions League back then, and we needed to have done better last year to be in the Champions League now. So we're in it. We should win. We should win the whole thing. I'd be disappointed if we don't get to the final. If we don't win it, that so be it.
Fair enough. So if you're not going to be like me if you get eliminated from it, you're not going to be like hella gutted.
No,
you don't have that level of investment in it.
I would be disappointed that we got eliminated based on the field. The attraction of winning the Europa League isn't enough for me to be disappointed that we didn't win.
Okay.
It's similar, but it's slightly different. I'd be more disappointed that those teams knocked us out, not that I'm disappointed we didn't win the Europa League.
Okay. I can understand that. I get it.
Do you feel the same about the Champions League now that City are this juggernaut?
I mean, it's weird with the Champions League. There's always been a negativity from this club about it anyway. I know I made jokes about it earlier, but like there is a genuine negativity and a genuine dislike for UEFA and the Champions League in general. It's part of the whole like there's a thought process with Manchester City fans of there's a top table and we had to win the lottery to get to that top table. And then we're in there and we're competing and we're doing stuff. And whenever we're doing anything wrong, we're punished, which we should be. We're doing something wrong. But then you have teams where, like, I think it was Zenit had a complete crowd ban because of violence and all kinds of stuff. And we turn up to play Zenit, and there's like 500 fans in the stadium. And nothing happened to Zenit. Zenit didn't get any punishment or anything like that. There's always this kind of things like this have always been them changing a financial rule midway through the season so that we ended up having a shortened bench. That we thought was a little bit like, well, why are you applying it now in the middle? Do you know what I mean? It felt they've done a lot of things that just feel like they kind of targeted at us, and we as a club we also feel like on the pitch we've also had a negative experience, but poor officiating, like every football fan feels. But when you put it with the narrative of the things that have happened off the pitch, you start getting a bit like, oh, it's a Illuminati group that are just trying to keep us out. So and then it becomes fun. And then we boo the Champions League theme, etc. So yeah, but even so, it's always felt like even like we were together when Man City won it. You were over from America, and my reaction at the end of it was more relief than anything else. Just finally, shut up now. We've won it. Now you can go away. And then people came up with a new one of going, oh, we haven't won enough of them to have a proper one. Oh God, just stop. We genuinely could win everything every year for decades, and people will still be like, oh, but such and such has done this thing. Have you done an Invincible season?
Yeah, there's always going to be something. Have you done this?
So what I just did, like I said a podcast or two ago, is that I just don't care anymore. And I think but I've always never really cared about the Champions League until we lost the final to Chelsea. When we lost that, I felt gutted because I was like, we're losing to these lot for real. Like, we should have hammered them. And similarly with Inter Milan, like it felt for a time that we weren't going to win that. Like I genuinely felt like, oh, it's gonna be one of those.
Another one, yeah.
Um, yeah, just felt like it until Rodri scored. I was just like, it felt horrible. But yeah, so I'm sort of like that. I'd there's a part of me that would prefer to be in the Europa League, win that, and go there we go. There's another one that we shouldn't have won. Put us in the conference. It's another one we shouldn't have won because we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be doing this because we've been lucky to get the investment and the lottery win in football to be able to do what we're doing. But there's still that part of the fan base which goes kind of preferred being not being in the spotlight, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
that's
been
the relationship we've got with it.
I guess even generally with City, looking from the outside in, there's always seemingly been that bitterness about being the little brother, as it were, of the city,
Yeah.
and always having that to be able to complain about. And then now you're not in that situation. You either don't complain anymore, or you still feel bitterness about it, and whether it's not there. So I guess it'd be a little bit the same with the Champions League, where you've got that bitterness towards them for that's like you've laid it out. Then when you win, is that bitterness still there, or is it more like a lording it over them? I think
Lording it over them.
Yes, I
That's
thought
how
it
I
would be.
reacted anyway. I think I actually posted a picture of it. I think I posted a picture on Instagram or something or Facebook or something. It was literally it wasn't about winning the Champions League or anything. It was about have it UEFA.
Yeah.
Like that because that was how I felt. Like that's how I feel about it. I we can have it. We'll do a proper topic about finances in football and all that sort of stuff one day.
Mhm.
I'd love to do that. And actually, because me and you've had some really good chats about that in private.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd love to bring it to the table and talk about it one day on this. But I've always felt like when other teams have when other teams got to certain statuses and positions in football, it was then closed off. The ladder then came up,
Yeah.
and unless teams like Chelsea, unless teams like PSG, unless teams like Man City come along and do what they've done, which isn't ethically the greatest way of building a squad or building a football team or club. But at the end of the day, it's the only way it could have done because we're so far gone with everyone else that, and the thing that proves it to me more than anything else is the amount of money that has been spent by every single football club who have whined and dined about how little how they can't afford to compete with Manchester City. You can, you just don't because you
Yeah.
haven't had to. And you know, I get, like I said, I get both arguments as well. I do understand when people say negative things about the club and the way that it's run and some of the questionable stuff that's happening. And there's 115 charges for a reason. There's probably some truth to it. If I'm being completely honest with myself. But at the same time, it's like you created a situation where that needed to be done. You know what I mean? You needed teams to put investment in. How else were you going to? Otherwise, it would have become a farmers league because I've said this time and time again. I was watching what's it called? Premier League Years on Sky Sports yesterday during the day when the kid was napping, and in it, it was the year that Manchester United won the treble, so
Right.
98, 99, I think.
9.
And when they won, Martin Tyler, I think, was the commentator, said that Manchester City United have just won 5 out of the last 7 Premier Leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 5 out of 7. People and there was more after it. Right? I didn't look this up, but I know there's more after it. I was there. Right? Man City do something similar. Oh, it's the Farmers League. Oh, it's destroying football. Oh, it's do you get what I'm saying? It's an overall thing, and these kind of things are the reasons why we, as Man City fans, don't really have that love and affiliation for the Champions League, other than to shut rival fans up who go, "You've not won it, or you'll never win it." We have now.
That's
That's
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Now
That's an
it's done.
unfair thing. that to say that you'll never win it, or you got to win it to then do this or whatever. I think that's nonsense. But just quickly on your point about the United thing and then the City thing now, um, you'll have to. I'll have to look it up, but Arsenal ran them close, and other teams ran them close back then as well. And it wasn't just one or two teams. There was always three or four that were in a title race towards the end. Whereas recently, could this thing about it being mentioned as a Farmers League be the fact that last year Arsenal were the only ones to come close to you? In years previous, Liverpool have been the only team to come close to you. Is it not just that you've won, but because it's been by so far, only allowing one team to get close?
Yeah, I think in points totals and stuff, you're completely correct. But in terms of number of teams competing, it's almost always a two-horse race. It's I can't remember many instances where it's been more than two teams playing, like vying for the title. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there has been, but I'm saying the majority of it in my brain is two teams.
I think that's because by the time you get to the last couple of weekends, it is then by that point two teams. But if you look at the month previous, or once the Boxing Day fixtures come out, and then you get into January, then February, you're still four teams. March, still four, maybe three. I think that might be different because, as we both know, with like when we won the Premier League recently, and when you've won the Premier League recently, by the time you get to January, it's pretty much decided.
Yeah. I like I say, I understand it, but also it's none of that stuff's happening to me. So score. And you know what? When there is that time where Manchester City are no longer the dominant force and someone else has taken over or reclaimed the crown or whatever it is, I'm not going to sit. You know what? This is one thing I will say wholeheartedly as a football fan. I will not harbor the resentment and bitterness that football fans of. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mention your team in this, but as Liverpool, as Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, United fans, anyone that's ever won it and won it successfully for a block, right, have this horrendous bitterness to what's going on right now. In 10 years' time, when Man City are an average team and someone else is there, I'm just going to be like, great. It's because we did it in a situation where there are so many people who never thought like it would ever happen. So, as I'll end on this bombshell.
Go for it.
All you football fans, pack in your bitterness. Enjoy the fact that there will be a downfall will happen soon. Kevin De Bruyne is nearly retired. Pep Guardiola will not be around forever. Manchester United City, Erling Haaland will probably end up at Real Madrid in a couple of years.
With Mbappe.
With Mbappe, yeah. Then you got to worry, right? But genuinely, in a couple of years, he's probably gone. This team will probably be taken over by Vincent Kompany because we're all like, Liverpool fans probably wanted Steven Gerrard at one point. Sure. Chelsea fans wanted Frank Lampard or John Terry to take over and stuff. And even though they may not be qualified for the gig, you want that kind of thing. We'll do that. We'll bring Vincent Kompany in and we'll become a mid-table team for an average team, and you'll all get your football back. So stop whining. 5 years time, you'll get your 5 to 10 years time. You got your football back. You can all go back to complaining about United dominating the league, like the good old days. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's the show for today. Thank you all very much for listening and for watching our beautiful faces on the YouTube. Do you know the score? Is the word to type into every search bar in the world to find us on every app, which is Facebook, which is TikTok, which is YouTube, which is Instagram. Follow us on SoundCloud and Spotify. We should have an Apple Podcasts thing set up very soon. But for now, Spotify and SoundCloud is where you can find it. Do you know the score? All one word.
But not Twitter.
Not Twitter. Not X. No. Sorry, we don't tweet. Or what do they do now on there?
I don't know.
because I deleted Twitter ages ago,
Yeah.
so I don't know. But if you don't, because Twitter you tweet, so if you're on X,
Who knows?
what do
Who
you do?
knows? But just make sure you do. What was it? Hit the like button, share,
Yeah,
subscribe. There
yeah.
it is.
And turn on. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check this one out, going.
Go on.
Turn on that bell.
Okay.
That means then that when we
Notifications.
upload, they get a notification and stuff.
Brilliant.
Bang! Oh, the future. I've seen the future.
I'll get with my 9-year-old to explain it all to me.
Bye bye for this time.
See you guys.